Hi, my name is Jordan and I'm 14 years old. I love mathematics. In fact, it's my favorite subject in school. I feel like so many kids in our community aren't that comfortable or confident when doing math. So my task is to increase your confidence and make sure that you're more comfortable when you're doing math. So with that said, today I'm going to be teaching you about equivalent fractions and reducing fractions. So let's start with the basics. What is a fraction? Well, a fraction is basically a part of a whole or a part of something bigger. Now, we have the fraction 4/10. Let's look at the parts of a fraction. We have the numerator and the denominator. The denominator, which is the bottom number, and also 10 in this case, tells us how many parts there are going to be in the fraction. The numerator, which is the top number, and the number 4, tells us how many parts we are taking out of that fraction. So, let's look at this. You can look at this as a circle or as a pie that is representing this fraction. There are 10 equal parts, or 10 equal slices in the pie, and 4 parts, or 4 slices, are being taken out of that pie, which is why 4 slices or parts are shaded in blue. So, a fraction represents a number that is smaller than 1 or smaller than its whole. Now, let's look at another fraction. We have the fraction 2/5. Over here in our pie, we have 5 equal slices, and 2 of those slices are being taken out. We have the numerator and the denominator, both representing their parts of the fraction. Now, if you notice, there are more parts in this fraction than there are in this fraction. But these parts are smaller than these parts. That's because the bigger your your denominator is, the smaller the parts are in the fraction. So if you look at 10 and 5, 10 is bigger than 5, which means that the fraction with the number 10, with the denominator of 10, is going to have smaller parts, but there are going to be more parts in the whole. And the fraction with the denominator of 5 is going to have less parts, but those parts are going to be bigger. If you also notice, the amount shaded in this pie is the same as the amount shaded in this pie. That's because these fractions are equivalent. They look different, but they hold the same value. They have the same amount in them. So basically, equivalent fractions are fractions that look different, but at the end of the day, they hold the same value. And that's how we're going to get into reducing fractions. Because reducing fractions is basically taking an original number and simplifying it, or basically transforming it into the smallest version of itself. Why is reducing fractions important? Well, when you're working with problems that involve fractions, you want to make sure that your fractions are as small as possible. Working with larger numbers can be tricky and less efficient, which is why reducing fractions and learning how to reduce fractions plays a big role in problem solving that involves fractions. So, let's get into that. We have our first fraction of 4/8. Now, we have to simplify or reduce this fraction. Reduce and simplify basically have the same meaning. You're going to turn it into its smallest form. One way you could do that is by using common sense. 4 is half of 8. So 4/8 equals 1/2. But you might not see that right away. So what do you do in order to simplify this fraction? Well, the term that we use is called GCF, or greatest common factor. The greatest common factor is the largest number that can fit into both 4 and 8. And that number is 4. 4 goes into itself 1 time. And 4 goes into 8 2 times. So that's how we get our reduced fraction of 1/2. Now, these fractions are both equal to each other, but they just look a little different. So they hold the same value, but one is reduced and the other one isn't. Now, let's look at another example. We have the fraction of 9/36. We can reduce this again. We need to find the greatest common factor, the GCF. Now, the greatest number that can fit into both 9 and 36 is 9. 9 fits into itself 1 time. And 9 fits into 36 4 times. And the way that you can double check this is just multiplying. But this, you can multiply this fraction by 9. Okay, so let's try that. 1/4, and we're going to multiply both of them by 9. So 9 and 9. Okay, now 1 times 9 is 9. Remember, when you're multiplying fractions, you multiply the numerators first and the denominators next. And 4 times 9 is 36. And you get the same answer as up here. So that's how you can double check to see if you reduced your fractions correctly. Let's try one more example. We have the fraction of 14/21. Again, we find the GCF. The greatest common factor, or the greatest number that can fit into both 14 and 21 is 7. 7 goes into 14 2 times. And 7 goes into 21 3 times. So our reduced fraction of 14/21 is 2/3. And let's double check. Remember, we multiply 2/3 by 7. So 2/3 times 7. 2 times 7 is 14. 3 times 7 is 21. And as you can see, we get our same answer. So, reducing fractions may require some multiplication, and that's why you should learn your multiplication or your times tables first before getting into fractions. Okay? So, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed today's lesson, and hopefully now you're more confident with reducing fractions. And don't forget, with enough practice, you'll have this thing down, okay? I believe in you guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment letting me know what you want me to teach you for our next video. Until next time, bye!